Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 65 of the Growth Podcast. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you all enjoyed the last few days, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, spending time with loved ones and for me, not knowing what day of the week it is. So there we go. So look, in this show, in part one, we'll go over, I think it was Friday night's post-Xmas snooze fest, the 1-0 victory over Ipswich. Then we'll touch on the Saka injury and what we should do next. And then we'll look ahead to the Brentford game on New Year's Day. Unfortunately, Ian is unable to record today. He both missed the game due to performing at a gig, but also he's been unwell. So get well soon, Ian. But we've made up for it in a big way. Now, I had planned, because it was because the game, not a lot happened, to try and have quite a few guests to see if we can extract anything out of that game. But unfortunately, fate, hangovers, Sunday lunches conspired against us. But luckily, I'm left with the best of the bunch. We have making his return to the pod is Whale. Whale, how are you? How was your Christmas?
Yeah, I'm well. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays. Today is Sunday, by the way, and the lucky handful of listeners actually get to hear a balanced viewpoint on the pod today, except for a love fest sponsored by Arsenal Football Club.
Exactly, but we've also got you on for and also surely you've got a Christmas greeting. Where's your usual? My
Christmas greeting. Good holiday, fine sirs and gentlemen and ladies and everybody else.
Excellent. Charles will be extremely happy that you did that. So and look, we also have you on for a particular reason. So you've got a particular affinity with Ipswich. So this game is is special for you. Can you explain to the listener why that is?
I lived there for quite some time. The family's from there. I'm from there originally, so it was good to see Ipswich sort of back in the Prem. I've been sort of following them from the first league championship, coming in second, whatever it was in the championship. Good young manager, nice little ownership group. A plucky young side with a lot of tradition for some of the younger folks back there, like before the Prem was the Prem, First Division and all of that. England, Ipswich was either winning second place, winning some cups. So it's nice to see them back in the big boy division.
No, good to see. So as we will do, talk about our highlights and our lowlights from the game. So Whale, if you can you find a highlight from the game and your lowlight?
Highlight was it was nice to see Ipswich playing Arsenal in a non-cup game. That was the highlight. The game was, and I guess a highlight would be the win. The win is always a highlight. So 3 points. Low light. Well, there's probably many of them. It was and this is saying something for association football, at least in my opinion. It was pretty boring. There wasn't much going on, but we got the win. So there we go.
Yeah, no, I had that. If I start with my low light, I had that as the same. Yeah, the game was a bit boring. It happens. It's a shame. There's no guarantees with football. I'm sure they're trying to entertain, but I guess it takes two to tango. And when you get an opposition that have no intention of coming out of their own half, then it can be a bit tricky at times. But we'll touch on that. But yeah, I found that a bit boring. And actually, before I get to my highlight, it was interesting. I was chatting with my son, so I went to the game with my son, and before the game, and I was out with the family, and my wife asked him, "So are you enjoying this season?" And he actually said, he said, "Well, yeah, but it's a bit boring. It's been a bit boring this season." So I just so he wasn't just, and this was before the game. So then, as soon as the game finished, he said, "See," which, yeah, nice one, Gianluca. I don't know. Do you agree? So not going to get too existential about the whole season yet and get too deep on that. But do you agree to a certain extent? Do you feel it's been a little bit boring? Is that an alright assessment?
I mean, it's easy to say that, I guess, off of the past couple of years. Obviously the 2 years ago, or however you want to call it, the first sort of out of nowhere sort of championship run. Obviously that was going to be exciting. Last year, also, there's a lot of sort of last minute goals and draws, so you're going to have that. And then also just the fact that we're not winning as much, and winning isn't fun, and winning isn't isn't boring, and it is boring, and it's, I don't know, if you're trying to build on something and you're just, it's been a bit blah this season. There is still time, but now we require help, which isn't always a big thing. Anytime it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. So it's just fingers crossed, and we'll see. So it's a little boring.
No, indeed, and we'll touch on maybe why that is and what we do about it in a bit. So, and in terms of my highlight, for me, it was meeting up with a couple of American fans, a couple of Arsenal fans from America, who I managed to get in contact with on social media, and I helped them get a couple of tickets. So shout out to Matt Sommer, who is actually head of the Bruce City Gunners fan club from Wisconsin, and a lady called Danito Tami from New York. Just they sort of put a bit of a shout out and said they're going to be in London over Christmas, and if anyone can help source some tickets, then that's it. So I helped out, all above board, and no dramas there, but like how I helped your auntie out as well. So so it was nice to meet up with them and just have a chat with them and have a couple of drinks before the game, and just sort of see that excitement when you know we're in a privileged position that we go to see this every week, and even though it can be quite tough to get tickets and so on, when you get these people that really follow the club and as passionate as we are, but they don't get to see it often. It was really nice just to see their excitement at being there, and we went to the Tollington, and then we walked down the North Banksy Alley, and then just outside the stadium. Yeah, it was just nice to share that experience with them. So that was my highlight for the evening. So look, if we come to the lineup, so we had Raya, Timber, Gabriel Saliba, MLS, and then Rice, Odegaard, Havertz, and then Trossard, Jesus, and Martinelli. What were your thoughts on that lineup? Were you sort of happy with it? Were you any surprises? Anything you wanted to see different? Especially in terms of options at left back, and in terms of how we adjust to the next 3-4 months without Saka.
Yeah, I worked on the day, and I came home and was sort of doing some things and ate and speaking to the family here. So I didn't even see the lineup. So it wasn't until I got in the stadium, and then my reception in the stadium was horrible. So I couldn't find out the lineup while I was in the stadium. So it wasn't until essentially the kickoff happened. I'm at my seat and I'm looking, trying to sort of find out what happening. And it's as you probably can appreciate, it's not always easy to find out, at least especially our team, who's playing where once the game gets going, because players tend to drift, some more than others. So it did sort of take me sort of a minute to sort of see who was number one sort of playing up front, because in the beginning of the game it seemed Jesus was sort of just out left a little bit, and then I finally sort of got the game settled down a bit, and I could see sort of where everybody was, and I was like, let's be honest here. I mean, it's a recently promoted side. Anybody on the Arsenal roster, on that bench, we should be able to put out and get a win. Like, that's the way I look at it. So it's not one of those ones where it's like, oh, maybe it should have been this, it should have been that. I did find it interesting that apparently Trossard just can't play it out on the right. He just must not be able to. The fact that you're just going to shift Martinelli over to the right-hand side and put him on the left. I mean, I know Martinelli played decently the other day on the right, but it made me think that Trossard must be useless out there. And Martinelli can do both, so we put him there. And that brings up a whole other thing of mine, that you should be able to play both sides if you're a professional, making the money that you make. But yeah, like I say, when I saw the lineup, the game had already started, and I was like, yeah, it should be good enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right. I think not any 11, but yeah, we should be able to put together a team to beat Ipswich at home. I guess it's a case of we use this as an opportunity to sort of, against the so-called easier opponent, to try out a few things, see how we can build those relationships and so on. I think it's more a case of, I think Martinelli has played that he played last game of the season against Everton out on the right. You're right, he did against Palace. Yeah, he's definitely better out there than Trossard. Trossard is, because I think he's done it a few times. And yeah, if you had to choose between the two, then I would go with that. But I also saw them rotating quite a lot. A lot of time, Jesus would go out to the left, go out to the right. Martinelli would be in the middle. So that's I think it was what is expected. The one that I'm still uncertain about is Havertz and in the 8 role. I just don't think it works greatly there. And I think what's good is that he can get in the box and comes as a second striker, crashes the box. And we saw that with the goal he scored, and we saw that with the goal against Palace. But I just think we have a bit of a disjointed midfield there. I don't think he offers a huge amount of midfield. And I think Marino coming on as he did, I think just made it look like a better midfield unit. Whereas, I'm not too sure what he does there. So he doesn't offer a great deal, but then he's scored in the last 2 games. So it's, what do you want from that?
Arteta's the only one that seems to think that, and it makes me think that Arteta's a big fan of a great '80s video game for Atari called Space Invaders. He's the only one that thinks Havertz does well at the 8. We just really miss Saka there, or a Saka type player who offers those skills.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, he did talk about we need to find new ways of playing now to adapt to Saka not being there. But so I don't know. We just have to see how it pans out against tougher opposition, and maybe horses for courses. Again, you're at home. You have more attacking strength rather than having a more midfield type. Don't know. Oh, we got the win in it, and it worked. And in terms of the overall game, we had, we obviously dominated, so 68% possession to 32, 1.86 XG to 0.15, 13 shots, 5 on target, 3 big chances. We were dominant. We were always going to dominate. It was a classic scoreline, but not a classic performance. And we have seen the script a few times recently. It's a win, clean sheet, no injuries. We didn't really get out of second gear. My one thing about that is I'm not too sure we could have got out of second gear if needed to. I don't know. I don't know. You see it a lot of the times. You just play at a level, and sometimes it's hard to lift yourself out of that level. So but I don't think we really needed it. I mean, what were your overall thoughts in terms of the performance, the game? Obviously happy with the result, but what did you feel about how we approached the game and just in terms of how we played?
I mean, it's worrying. First of all, I'm of the belief that when you're the superior team by a good margin, I don't care if it's home, their place, on the moon, like you should be getting the win. Like if you're that much better, home allows a certain. I mean, like in the NFL, we'll say it'll give you, say, in theory, 3 extra points, and it's this and that. But when you're a lot better, you should be winning anywhere. Did they come to, well, did they use the blueprint that a lot of teams have used against us? Yes. They sort of sat back and like, okay, beat us. We have trouble doing that. We had a few shots, few instances where we could have scored. We didn't. Glad we did get the one from Havertz. But if they would have scored another goal, that game ends in a draw. I don't think we had enough to go get another goal. There was no one on the bench to bring off to make any sort of difference. And I want to say, every team's going to have a game or two like this during the season, but this isn't just a game or two. Arteta's gone, and I am a believer in, sort of offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. But it seems that he's got PTSD from the last 2 seasons, and he's like, no, I need to bolster the defense, and that's great. And if a team can't win if they don't score, but it's what I tell a lot of my association football fans is that you could go undefeated or draw every game and be relegated. So, I mean, just playing the draw isn't good enough. That you need to be able to score more than the opponent. And we seem to have some trouble doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it a lot, is that we expose ourselves to the margins and things like that. So if you're only scoring 1-0 and you're relying on like being in control and not giving the opposition anything, football's football and shit happens, and it has happened. So I think I think so. That's always that fine line. And here's something for you. So I think I might know the answer, but do you prefer winning 1-0 like we did against Ipswich, where we dominated, full control? The opposition had no intention of attacking and didn't really get anywhere. I said they had 0.015 XG. They had no shots on target, etc. Do you prefer that versus we win 5-1 at Palace, but bloody hell, Palace. Palace. We gave up a lot of chances. It was a lot more basketball like and so on. So yes, we scored more goals, but. Yeah, I don't know where. I know which one Arteta prefers, but you as a fan, what do you feel more comfortable with?
I prefer, if I'm being honest, to be entertained, because I mean that's that's what these games are for. I know people don't like to say it anymore. Oh, it's the games. The second they allowed spectators to watch these guys play, it became about entertainment. So it's been that way essentially from day one. Ever since they started taking money to watch, it's been about entertainment. Yeah, I prefer to see the goals going in. I mean, for what you said about Arteta, for what he even said, I think he even prefers a 5-1 if you can guarantee that it is going to be the 5-1, because goal differential does come into play, and so he would like that. I think one of his things in his press conferences that, to be honest, I barely listen to because they annoy me most of the time, is that it's not always just about the 3 points. It's a lot of times it's how you come about those 3 points, and it's the goals and it's momentum. So it's, yeah, all things being equal, a win is a win. But if especially if I'm going to the game, or if I'm going to give you 90 minutes of my life, I would like to be entertained, because that's essentially your job. You to entertain me.
Hopefully not entertained in the Tottenham way of, are you not entertained at least? So, but I mean, in terms of Arteta, and he said on the comparison versus Palace when he was asked after the game, was in terms of how well we controlled the position, 10 times I preferred Ipswich. No, sorry, yeah, because against we conceded 14, 15 shots against Palace, and it's nothing that we normally do. So overall, I think this one was better, but it's about the goals as well and the beauty of it and entertaining people, and obviously the Palace one is better for them. So yeah, it is about finding that balance. I think I think if he prefers this, we're in total control, total domination, but he appreciates that we've got to, you're right, entertain. In terms of,
I wouldn't call it total control though, because those last 10, 15 minutes of the game, we were not in control. So don't let the numbers fool you on that. Nobody in that stadium thought we were in control.
I don't know. I think that's more just everyone's a bit of anxiety. Ipswich didn't control anything, so Ipswich didn't create anything. So yes, we didn't have total control of the ball, but we didn't offer up anything. And yes, and I think everyone's just a bit nervous because football can be stupid, as we say, and anything can happen. So you're right. We do seem to be a team that want that. We need the 2 or the 3 just to be absolutely certain. And yes, when it's 1-0, you leave yourself exposed. But I don't know if you were to go and look at that in the cold light of day and actually watch that last 10 minutes, you would actually see that.
Your stats, because obviously your stats are over the entirety of the game. If you were to break down the stats over, say, the last 10 minutes, last 15 minutes of possession, I guarantee you it would be more equal, or even more, so that they would have more of the ball. If they have more of the ball, they have more opportunity to score.
Yeah. But they didn't. But they didn't create anything. That's the thing. Is that yes, they would have more possession, because you do. Their game plan was get to 80 minutes, still be in the game. Even at 1-0, they did not change the way they played, because if they come away with a draw, they'll be happy. They'll be happy with that. So I think that was always their game plan. Get to the last 10 minutes and let's get the crowd nervous and stuff like that.
What was our game plan, would you say? Because I couldn't see a difference in between the way the two teams were playing.
I guess, our game plan was to... It was an odd one, because normally if we score early, then we go on to rack up a few goals, or... it's tight and everyone gets nervy. But this time we did score early, but then didn't do much. I think it was that thing. We're playing a number of games. Shit happens. We're 1-0 up. We don't have to actually try that hard. So you don't get out of second gear. Maybe we're playing with Brentford in mind. Maybe we're playing with the fact that, January, we are stacked with games every 2-3 days, or every 3-4 days. So sometimes as a player, you mentally go into conservation mode. So, I'm going to do the bare minimum to get through this game, win it, forget about it, move on. Now, as fans, you're right, we want to be entertained. But as a player, you've also just got to manage what you're doing, manage your time. And sometimes you just get into that level. A lot of the time when you're playing, having played sports before, seen it, you play at the level of your opposition. So if you're playing a high level of opposition, you lift yourself up. If you're playing a lower level of opposition, you sort of sometimes lower yourself, especially if you're fatigued or full of turkey, I don't know, whatever it is. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and I think that's where also Ipswich come into play. They were hard to break down. They defended well. I think unlike Everton, they didn't have the legs to maintain it. Everton, they had 10 days rest. They had the legs to maintain it. Ipswich, I don't think they ever had the legs to maintain that throughout. So that's where I saw that. But just coming back to your point in terms of, I found this really odd. Not odd, but we're unbeaten in the last 11 games. We scored 28 goals, I think. We've conceded very few. We're second in the Prem, third in the Champions League table. But, and this is the thing, the mood still seems flat amongst Arsenal fans, and we're breaking records, you know, left, right, and centre. I know calendar year stuff doesn't mean anything, but there's also, it does mean something in terms of a trend in terms of what you're doing. But yeah, why is that? I just looked at that.
Is it a wind up? Seriously, is that a wind up?
No,
you know why?
I put it down here. I said, look, it counts for nothing, but also does also need to be appreciated. But I'm not going to get into that. Because I knew you'd be like this. But in terms of what I've just said there, we are unbeaten in the last 11 games. We've scored roughly 8 goals per game.
The term unbeaten. There are three. Unbeaten doesn't mean what it means in a lot of these other sports, where there isn't the draw. Unbeaten doesn't mean anything to me. It's like, tell me about your wins and your losses, because like I said earlier, you could go unbeaten the entire season and get relegated. It doesn't mean anything.
But we are second in the Premier League. We're in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, which we all want to win now. Third in the Champions League table, so hopefully qualifying there. So why does it feel?
It's the way that we're second. It's the way that we should be first, because we've you could say, oh, we're unbeaten, but in 3 or 4 of those unbeatens, we should have won, and we've dropped points, and we should be first. So that's why. It's the year that our main nemesis has fallen, and we haven't taken it. There's so many different things. So like these numbers don't mean anything. It's like when they start throwing out we've conceded the least goals in the league at 16. Well, guess what? Liverpool's at 17. It's only 1 goal difference, and they're winning. So
I guess the stats just show a trend, as in it's trying to say, look, things aren't as bad as it is. And so you got the eye test versus the metrics versus how you feel. And some of the truth lies in between. So the data doesn't give you the full story, because you can make statistics, like I think your point is, you can make statistics read whatever you want them to read. But then also, when people are going on emotion, that's also not always 100% correct, because so there's a balance in between. So I think a lot of the time trying to bring in some data into it is trying to balance that emotion versus statistics, or to say, well, actually, you know, given my favorite word, context, it isn't so bad. Now, yes, we are 6 points behind Liverpool. They've got a game in hand. We'd all like it to be different. But then again, you take out your best players from your team, I think we've done pretty well to be where we are, given the fact that of what's happened so far this season. Now, some of that's our fault, some of it's luck. You take out Salah and Virgil van Dijk from Liverpool, they're not going to be where they are now. So
we've had the equivalent of that. Because I'll say that we haven't.
You wouldn't say so. So you wouldn't say like our player of the season being out for 2 months.
Who's that?
Odegaard last season. So he was player of the season. But he makes a difference. So you say
he doesn't make the difference that Salah makes. So that's number one. He's nowhere near that level.
No. But what I mean is,
he's not that.
But what I mean is, if you took Salah out of Liverpool, and now he's having a season of a lifetime, and that guy is phenomenal. And look, I'm not saying Liverpool aren't playing well. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be where they are. Yes, I can. The frustration does it. But you take a couple of their key players out from them, and someone like Salah, someone like Virgil van Dijk, they will not be the same team.
What you just said, though, about where we're at and what we should appreciate, and we're 2 here, we're 3 there, just essentially makes the point you just made like sort of null and void. We did all right without Odegaard, because we're still where we're at. We didn't tumble down the table.
Yeah, right? But we could be better.
2, 3. Yeah. Could we have been better? Maybe. You don't know, because he's playing now, and look how we're playing.
Well, actually, since he's returned, we've unbeaten. So that
there's that word again, unbeaten. How many wins have we had?
Okay. Well, actually,
how many wins? 3 points.
1 in the league. I've got it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so here's something interesting. And sorry, I didn't prep you for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of the last 7 games, out of the last 7, 1-5 drawn 2. So you know the exercise that we did. Now, this is not to call you out, but actually it's more in terms of how we thought it would go. You know, when we did that exercise, what we're going to win, draw, loss for the next 10 games.
Yeah.
So Forest, West Ham, Man United, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Ipswich. We predicted 17 points out of 21.
Yeah.
And we've got 17 points out of 21. So we're actually, even though you said Arsenal would draw against Ipswich because you weren't going to, yeah, and we thought we're going to draw against Forest. So actually, we're on track in terms of where we thought we would be.
Times. A lot of you guys and people out there in the ether do this. It's not just about us. So I don't care that if we got the 17 we were supposed to get, because if we got the 17 we're supposed to get, but our main championship rival only got 13 out of them, and we don't capitalize, it's an issue. And that's where we're at. So it's like, that's the issue. It's not just about us. It's only about you when you get out to a lead and you keep winning. When you're chasing, it's not just about, what you do. It's about what you do when your opponent sort of falters.
Yeah.
And I do need just to go back, because
go for it.
It bothers me. This is probably the only sport out of all the sports in the world that gives a fuck about the calendar year. It's about seasons. No one cares about a calendar year. You don't get a trophy for a calendar year. You don't get golden boots for calendar years. Like, sports aren't played from January 1st to December 31st. It's about seasons. I don't care about calendar year stats.
I knew you wouldn't, and I don't get it. I knew that was like going to be read back to a ball. So that's fine. But I guess the point is, if you say, "Oh, we've only scored 20 this calendar year," you go, "Oh God, there's a problem." You know that, but it's just sort of to highlight that we can score goals. It's just, you're right, it's the timing of it, and that's it. People lean on stats to prove points, and I think the truth lies in between. So don't rely all on stats, and don't rely all on emotion. The truth is that the
stats I will rely on are the wins. I'll rely on the points. Those part of the stats, once they go on the board, they're great. But like you say, with the goals and this and that, you could get 9 goals against a scrub team and not get any goals against the other team. And so
that's certainly true. And actually, I think that was a point. I think I've heard elsewhere that, yes, you say, oh, you scored X amount of goals, but if you scored half of those goals against, like last season when we were churning out 5-6, that run, it was nice and it's fun. But a couple of those goals elsewhere would, so it does mask a few things. So
like 3 from the 6 to a game that we lost by 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah,
and then it means something different.
Yeah, unfortunately, football's not like that, and you just take it as it comes. So no, I just think it's an interesting thing, because I think, again, so in terms of the fan base, there's going to be that, like always, there's going to be that broad spectrum of, everything is shit because we don't win every game 6-0, to it's not as bad as you think, everything's fine, and the Pollyanna and the toxic positivity and so on, and that's why it's always interesting to have you on, just to have that different thing, because I know where I'm on the spectrum, and I know where you are on the spectrum, and I think there's a healthy balance there somewhere. No one's right, no one's wrong, and if we win, everyone's happy. If we lose, then people are pissed off. I think the frustration comes that, you're right, the one time that bloody City, our nemesis, as you said, are faltering, we have not been in a position to take advantage of that, and Liverpool have. However, halfway through the season, still plenty of time to go. Shit happens. Who knows? It's happened to us.
Listen, there's a chance. So, I wouldn't bet anything that I am not prepared to lose on us winning the Prem. But there is still a chance. But it just... there's a lot of moving parts now, and so it's great to be, like I say, man, I'm positive, and I have a positive outlook on all sorts of things, like in my actual real life.
Yeah.
When it comes to this fantasy world of sport, I don't have that attitude. I expect a lot.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, don't worry. I know you, and you do expect a lot.
You guys do play a lot, man. Our tenors are like 16 million quid a year, man. You got to figure it out. Figure it out.
No, that's fine, and that's his job, and he's got to do that. And I think we'll come up to something that isn't out of his hands to a certain point. But yeah, he that's his job to do it. But also, you got to think that when you're out there playing the sport, you're not thinking about your pay packet when you're running down the wing. They feel pressure, the players feel pressure. The players, they're not there thinking, I'm getting paid X amount, so therefore, I have to do this. You just react on the day, and you react at the moment. I think the longer term, the bigger picture, yes, and in terms of the energy and effort they put into what they do and their training expertise, that's where you're paying money. You need to make sure you are the best you can be. But on a given day, that you can be paid the most amount in the world, and you can just be shit because for whatever reason. So
these same players were playing really good last year and the year before, so I'm not blaming them. It's been a system change, and that's and that's my issue. And when we go to sort of Martinelli, you take a free flowing sort of freestyle sort of player, and you box them in. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But know what players you have. Know that Martinelli cannot play that way. He can, but you get the most watered down guy that isn't really what you want. Yeah. So just know what players you have, and if you want to sort of bring in a certain system, bring in players that fit that system, because every player you can't mold to what you want to play.
Yeah. Well, that's why we've got so many left backs. Because our bench yesterday, Jesus, it was like, who are we going to put out front? Oh, well, but a left back. Yeah, it was just left back central. But anyway, in terms of the game, there wasn't a huge amount to talk about. I said, first half, I think at one point we had like 88% possession. So again, one of these stats that just show like we had all the ball, but again, it's sterile domination. Ipswich defended well. We couldn't find that anything. We did find that one goal. So, across from Martinelli, and where we were sitting, actually, I was watching him, and he did put in his first half performance was better than second half. He hardly touched the ball second half, and he was putting in some nice crosses, trying stuff. Wasn't really being that successful, but he crossed it over, fell to Trossard, worked it nicely. Havertz crashed the box, gets in 1-0, and then right over to Ipswich. Because we've done our bit. Unless you're going to try, then this game's over. But other than that, Rice had a shot that just dipped over. Jesus, lovely goal, lovely run and finish, but unfortunately unfortunately offside. But yeah, so and then second half, again it was a bit more even. The main big thing was Gabriel's miss at the far post. I couldn't see it in the stadium at the time, but when I've rewatched it, I said, "Wow, how did he miss that?" He gets that, and as you said, it's game over, and that's so unlike him. So much space. In the 73rd minute, Odegaard did really nicely. Save, Rice volley from a corner, nice, and very nice shot. So yeah, but as we said, it wasn't the most interesting of games. But a win's a win. Got a bit nervy at the end, but yeah, I think it was a deserved win. We're not doing player ratings today, just because everyone just got 6.5, isn't that right? That's my 6.5. So if this whale, this is going to be
because I will give somebody less than a 5. For me, everybody starts at a 5.
Yeah,
and then depending on how you play, you go up from there or you go down from there. So it's quite possible you might get a 3 from me.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think it's in the French press, they're really like harsh on everybody, and I think they're more like that. They start there, whereas other places start higher. But it is what it is. But any particular shout outs to any of the players? Anyone that did stand out to you?
It's again, I am a believer if you're good enough, you're old enough. But if we're gonna take ages to account, like Skelly played well, and he's been playing well. Because that's a position where you have to have a little bit of strength about you, because it does come a point in time where it is going to get physical, and if you get a certain reps that will let you play, if you're a lot of guys at 18 don't have their grown man body yet, and it could be easy enough to be sort of pushed off the ball. I think he's been playing well. So yeah, like Skelly gets a shout out. It's a bit of a hot take. It might end up that he ends up being the better prospect out of him and Nwari. That could happen. I mean, we already know he's getting more playing time, and that's huge in a player's development.
Absolutely,
he's getting out there. So I thought he played really well. I think the rest of the guys just sort of did what they kind of normally do. Yeah, like I said, it's tough because I want to just say, "Oh, we got the win, it's all right," but it's a pattern that I'm seeing, and so that's why it's not really all right. And we'll see what happens in the next couple of games.
Yeah, which will be tough. No, I agree with MLS. I think he's looking at home at right back.
Left back.
Left back. Sorry, yeah, I think also when Eri is a forward position, everyone gets more excited about attacking players. But to come in, someone like, again, midfielder converted to left back, a bit like Ashley Cole back in the day. I think it was a winger that we converted to left back, and he became a superstar player. And I think MLS he's doing really well. He was getting picked on by the likes of Delap when he moved away from Saliba. Him was standing up to him. I think you can see his midfield skills instead of in the way he shields the ball and progresses the ball. He just needs maybe a bit more confidence as he's being a bit differential. I think there's times where he could drive a bit further forward, have a shot. He's sort of that age where he's still lacking that sort of confidence, and he'll make the easy pass as opposed to try something just not.
Yeah, I haven't seen him sort of ping it across or do an over the top, over to the right, the right wing or anything like that. So
he plays it safe, and that's right. Look, for a guy who's 18, what he's doing is amazing. I think the fact that I think it'll be between him and Calafiori. They'll play alternate games. I think he's ahead of Zinchenko, ahead of Kivior in that position, and we found a player, and I think he's great. And I would, if it wasn't, my other highlight would have been there was a moment in the second half where Hutchinson was trying to do some tricks like Anthony from Man United, and he couldn't control the ball, and the ball went out. And he was looking, MLS was looking straight at us, and he was just laughing at Hutchinson. And I thought that was beautiful. The fact that I'm sure that maybe there's some history from the academy or something like that. But it was beautiful just to see him like, what are you doing, man? Just what are you doing? So it was quite funny to see that. So no, I like what we're seeing there.
Would you say, in your opinion, is Arteta a play it safe manager?
I would say he wants control. He does it. I heard this in another podcast. We win 5-1, he'll be there fretting about the one goal. He wants to be in control. He wants to dominate. I think it is a bit, City 2.0 or whatever. A bit like how Pep wanted to control things. He doesn't want to leave things open to chance, and I think his idea of an ideal game is 1-0 total domination. Don't give up any chances. Don't give up any shots. And so and that's why you see more of him buying more defensive players, and he's made some great defensive signings. Whereas his attacking choices have been, they're harder to pin down. There's no more guarantees. Buying a defender, buying a midfielder is easier than buying an attacker. And I think that's what, people have their strengths and weaknesses. But this is also his first job in management. I know he's been doing it for 5 years. Hopefully that part of his will evolve, and he'll.
You're a great boss, man. I'd love to have you as a boss. Love to have you as a boss.
Okay, well, you obviously think he's more of a conservative.
Oh, he's super conservative. And he's not as conservative as a Pep, because unless I'm misremembering the City teams from the last 4, 5, 6 years, they didn't look like us.
No, but I think the basic premise back in the day. But then also they got a nation state behind them. They can buy De Bruyne, buy Haaland, buy etc. etc.
These are the rules we play by. That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
everyone likes to say that. Oh, they've got. Hey, we play in the same league. Mm-hmm. Play in the same league.
No, that's fine.
And when they get away with these 115 charges, it'll just prove that we also could have done that. We chose not to.
Well, let's see. Let's hope not. They haven't got away with it, but we'll see. But I think we know where that's going. So look, okay. So here we go. We are now. So look, Saka, unfortunately, he's torn his hamstring. He's had the surgery. I don't think we're going to see him properly fit until March, April. So look, let's hope he recovers, and he could still be a big part of our season. If fingers crossed, by the time he comes back and ready to play, hopefully we're still in the Prem. Hopefully we're still in the Champions League and the FA Cup. So, and unlike Odegaard, I think he's easier to replace in terms of the type of player. But again, I heard this stat the other day. He's been involved since 2022-23 in 30% of our goals. Now, that's a stat you can't ignore. So someone that is involved in 30% of your goals coming out of your team, what does Arteta do? How do you think that's going to impact our season, and what do we do next?
I mean, I think it's one of those stats. It's that stat because that's how we play. Like by design, it's up the right side, get him involved, get him involved, get him involved. I think that we can get goals without him. I think Saka's a really good player, but he's not of the level of goal scoring as as like say like a Mo Salah, for instance. Like so, you could say he's our Mo, but he doesn't dominate the game in my opinion. So like when we have so on some of those games when it is, a scoreless draw and we absolutely need the goal, like by and large, he's not going to go out there and get that goal for us. Now that's not necessarily a knock on him. I just don't think he's that sort of player. I don't think he's on that level. Now he's 23 years old. Will he get to that level? Yeah, possibly. I mean, this will force Arteta now to sort of be a bit more sort of open-minded about an attack and sort of use sort of more of the team. And maybe he'll allow us to be a bit more sort of free-flowing. I mean, there's talks out there that, I mean, one of the things that I actually sort of like about sort of Inwari is that he's not afraid to go out there and try some things. I think the other players are afraid Arteta's going to bench them for. So maybe we put him out on the right for a little bit on some of these games and sort of see what can happen. But anytime you're only using a certain section of the pitch, just by definition, you're literally boxing yourself in. Like if I'm a defender, if I'm a manager, I'm going to say, listen, guys, just focus on this right here. We take care of him. Don't worry about Martinelli because it's like in basketball. That guy dribbles with his head down. How can you possibly see a pass when you're looking at your shoestrings like the whole time? I think we'll do all right without Saka. I don't think we're going to do any worse than what we have been doing. We've been struggling with him, in my opinion. 2, 3 here, there.
Yeah.
We've been struggling.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, the Everton game is an example of that. He was in that team, and we couldn't break them down. So, but I think he's also still one of our better players. He's a quality player. So I think we will miss him. How we adapt to it, especially when you got the likes of so Martinelli. Yes, there's maybe a system thing, but also his form has dropped and he hasn't made the progress. Likewise, Trossard's form has dropped a bit. Jesus is, I don't know. Can we play Palace every week? Otherwise, let's see what happens there. So, I even think even though when we are struggling, he is our one player that has that potential to, even if he draws away defenders and gives other people other people more space and time. So now defensive don't have to focus so much on that, and they can like spread their load. I mean, you're right. I think when Eri, that could be an option out there. But so look, he will look. It's that dreaded. We'll look for internal solutions, type thing, and maybe we will have that. But also, they said they'll be reactive in the January market. Now, if this isn't a situation that you need to be reactive to, I don't know what is. So, do you think we will be active in January? Do you think that's something that bring forward some of our summer plans? Do you think that's something possible? Anyone that you'd like to see? Realistically or unrealistically?
I don't think we're going to get anybody in January. And to sort of fast forward to the summer, I wasn't under the impression that we were going to make any sort of big moves over the summer. I mean, you could, when you start talking about value and this and that, I mean, hindsight's 2020. And to be honest, I mean, I've been so struck by us not making any big moves that the fact that we were going for Rice at that price point just felt great. But I mean, you look back on it, man, paying 100 million quid for a guy who we don't even really know what his real position is now. We interchange between 8 and 6. I could argue that you could get better value if we would have took that 100 million and put it on an attacking player. Obviously, we didn't know Partey was gonna have this sort of year, but I mean. You see him in training every day. So if you operate under the assumption he's going to stay healthy, which you have to have a certain assumption that your players are going to be healthy, otherwise you can't manage anything. Why are we spending 100 million pounds on a defensive midfielder that we don't even really always use as a defensive midfielder, and you just left us completely lacking in attack? Well, it's because Arteta's all about defense, and defense is okay if the draw doesn't come into it. I mean, I don't like the rebuttal people use. Oh, well, when you say you want change and they're like, well, who are you going to get? I don't fucking know. It's not my job. I I don't get paid, high six figures, low seven figures to go out here and scout. I mean, ideally, I want them to go find a player I've never fucking heard of for a bargain with a super high ceiling. So no, I don't know who you're going to get. And I have that same attitude when it comes to replacing Arteta if need be. No, I don't know who we're going to get next. That's not my job to. I don't think you stay with something just because you don't know what you're going to get. You investigate and you go out there and you see what's available. You don't just. I won't stay with a known that isn't working because I don't necessarily know what the fix will be. Yeah, I will look to go and see what the fix is. But in January, we get anybody? No, he's.
You don't think so?
We're gonna be doing this internally. He'll do what he did for the Ipswich game. We'll move around our attacking players and that'll be fine. Eventually, the left backs will get healthy. You'd like to think the defense will get better. Ben White will come back. I think Tomiyasu's done, but like Califuori will come back as well. So no, I don't anticipate anything in January. And then as far as bringing forward summer plans, I really believe we've fallen back into the fact that. I believe this ownership group is happy with competing and just competing and being in Champions League and putting out. I mean, people like have an issue about all the merch and stuff we put out. Like we're not. It's my understanding that every time they put out a new merch line, we're not necessarily getting money from that. Like that, like we have a 10-year whatever it is, 80 million, 100 million, whatever deal we have with Adidas is the deal we have with Adidas. Like Adidas is getting the lion's share of these profits. I just find it annoying that they're always coming out with more merch. It's like
yeah. So am I. But we're going a bit off track, and so is my wife, and so is my credit card. But we're going a bit off track here. But no, look, I just said, look, we're in a bit of a bind because I think we'll always look internally because it's always easier to promote from within. You've got people who know the system, know the club, etc., etc. Yeah, it's a pisser that one Sterling is injured, two that he hasn't worked out, and that's for whatever reason. But also, if we do try, so we can't loan from the Premiership. Because you can maximum 2, so we can loan abroad. But then again, you're right. It's who's available. And if we do try and buy someone, there's been talk of Kudus or Cunha or Semenyo and Moreno. Brentford, Bournemouth. West Ham. Even maybe Mitoma or Gibbs White. They know we're in a bind. We're not going to get anyone cheap. You're going to be paying a premium if you try and do anything now, and then it's about incorporating with the team, how soon you get them. It'll be typical of us to get Cunha and then he's banned for 5 games. That'd be just so that'd be so Arsenal just to do that. But then also, do you buy someone who's similar to Saka, or do you just augment the forward line? Do you just I mean, and this is what this is. He's going to be challenged. This is where him and the team have got to. Think, what is it they want? Do we write off this season and say, okay, the season's done and we're not going to screw up our X year plan just for the next 6 months? It's I don't know what the answer is. We're not going to recall Nelson because he's injured and Vieira is not coming back, even though there's been stories today that he and jet planes and whatnot. He's not coming back to Arsenal, I don't believe. I mean, even his head coach said the same. So, yeah, I'd like us to see something, but I'm not confident either. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think it's something that I don't think we're the sort of club that will rip up our long-term plans for short-term needs.
What are our long-term plans, by the way?
I don't know, but you would expect it would be like, as in, so there, in terms of summer signings, they would have been working on that already. Now I don't know what they are. They take time, like
you saw that. Too much credit. I don't think that's the case.
Really?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't. I think they might look at players and be like, oh, that's interesting. But like, prove me wrong. The history of the Arsenal shows me that we go in late. It's never for an A-lister. We don't get them, and then it's excuse going into the year. Tell me I'm wrong, and tell me where it's been different the last 10 years.
I would say Rice for like £100 million
signing. That's the one.
That's one.
That's it.
Well, again, I don't know. It's hard to say. I would expect if you're an organisation run as they are and as professional are, you don't make £100 million investments or £50 million investments on a whim. You have scouts out there, you'll have assessments, they'll be talking to them. Or
here's how it works, Tabs.
Yeah.
When you have North American owners, they're
Yeah.
looking at the bottom line. They're saying, why in the world would I pay £100 million just for the right to get someone on my team and then invest another £100 million in far as life of a contract, when that investment I'm not going to see back? Even if we win the Prem, I'm not seeing that investment back. They're not going to do that. You don't do that in the NFL. They're NFL owners. You don't do that in the NBA. They're NBA owners. That isn't commonplace. They've got a golden goose that makes money all on its own. They're not going to go out and spend, this amount of money. They're not so Chelsea is, you've got Bowman and then essentially a group that's got lots of money and they're happy to sort of play around with it. But the Cronkies don't work that way. If they wanted to, they could, but they don't. So they don't see the dollar and cents aspect of it, especially when you look at, what do you get, an extra 25 mil from winning the Prem? First place, second place. It's inconsequential. It doesn't mean anything to them, and it doesn't make the Arsenal brand bigger. The Arsenal brand is already massive. Winning the Prem isn't going to increase Arsenal's exposure worldwide. It won't. Arsenal has its fans. Mm-hmm. So that's how they're looking at these things. So I understand it. I just don't like it. So I don't expect them to go out and do all these things. But yeah, they will throw us a bone every now and again and get a big signing just to keep us off of their back, to keep us buying their merch. But it's not going to be mega A-list signings. I could easily say all the time, well, back in the boardroom, yeah, they're thinking about signing Messi and Ronaldo and just name any other person you want, and we could say that they're probably thinking that, but in reality, when you see what we actually do, it was different when Wenger was bringing in sort of unknown talent, but it was talent. It's a level playing field now. It's really hard to find somebody that nobody knows about.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, also who's out there and who's available. It's a lot about availability. All Premiership clubs, you're getting paid shitload of money, and some of the clubs don't need the money. Being in the Premiership, if you're top half of the table, very rarely, unless it's for PSR rules or whatever, sometimes you don't need the money. So therefore, you can, say Wolves, they need Cunha, but they could say, it's only going to, it's going to take stupid money to get the likes of Cunha, Semenyo, and Bueno, Gibbs White, to do it. Kudus, because they don't need it. So that's what I'm saying. That's why we're in a bit of a bind here. Look, I hope you're wrong. Again, I think the truth often lies somewhere in between.
And we won't activate the release clause. For me, that just goes to show exactly where we're at. There's two players with release clauses where you don't have to jump through these hoops and bargain with the team. You pay the release clause, and now you're dealing with the player and his agent. We haven't done that. Now, it's easy to say, because we don't rate them and this and that. No. It's because we don't want to pay that money. Point blank. We need help up front. There's two players that are better than any attacking players up front that we have on our team, and we refuse to act on it.
Don't say Nico Williams, because he's having a shite
It's not Nico Williams. What I'm talking about is Gyökeres and what's his name? Went over to Turkey. Both of those would be better up front than anything that we have.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, Osimhen. Yeah.
Both of those players,
I guess,
up front.
I guess
just reasonably priced.
Yeah, I guess the counter to the point that it's more than just money. Do they fit in the team? Will it work as a system? But yeah, there's all the
very good excuses for not paying any money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Look, I hope. Look, we all hope we do something, and then it makes a difference, and we then come March, April, when it's trophy time, and Saka comes back, that we're better for it. And but yeah, we will see. But it's not an easy situation. Not going to give up hope, but yeah, it's a tough one. And as I said, I think the truth lies somewhere in between, and we'll just have to wait and see. So, but there we go. So next, so that's where we are. So that was Ipswich, and that's Saka. And look, hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. It's not just now; it's also what does that mean in the future? Because if you have a dodgy hamstring and you're a winger, that's something that could be, go again and again and again. So he has to be managed. But then the best players play all the time, so it's a tough one. What I read somewhere, it's not the playing that's the issue. Is that because you're playing and recovering, you don't have time to build the body to build up to the rigors of playing all the time. So it's just that play, recover. You're not actually training your body, and I think that's where a lot of the stress comes from. So
some players aren't built for professional sports. I knew guys growing up had all the talent in the world. Their body would not hold up to the rigors of being a professional athlete. It'd be great for Sunday league. It'd be great playing every now and again, but their body. Just like some people get hurt, some people don't. You get Iron Man. You get guys who will play essentially Ronaldo. Look at that guy. Guy was playing all the time at the highest level.
Yeah. Nothing
really major happens. You get guys who play, they get hurt. You get guys who play, they don't get hurt. So hopefully this won't be an issue with him. Personally, I think we're not going to see him the rest of the year. I think by the time he does come back, I think we'll be far enough out of the various competitions where it won't warrant bringing him back. You know what? We'll just sit you on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, would you rush him back?
No.
Apparently
he's the only guy we got. I think the reason he plays so well is because he has no fear of being benched. Arteta's shown him that no matter what happens, you will always play. So I think he can go out there with a bit more freedom.
And also it makes it hard to buy someone to back up in inverted commas, because why would you join knowing that you're the backup for Saka, knowing that,
you need a guy with a certain amount of arrogance. As far as I'm concerned, anytime you bring a player in, it should be someone who you think can be better than the guy at the current position.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I would look to build a team. I would want I want them competing. I want them feeling comfortable, and I want to be bringing in somebody's replacement every time. I don't care about their feelings. But some players don't react well to that.
No, absolutely. We're all human. We all respond to incentives in different ways. So look, okay, I think we've done that to death a bit, and we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed for Saka and his health, and for Arsenal and our bank balance. Right. Okay. So next up, we're going to look at Brentford, who we play on New Year's Day, which is, I don't know if that's a Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know. I think it's Wednesday.
Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. It's funny. There's a full fixture list today and tomorrow, but we're not until Wednesday. So look, I've got my friend Tom, who's a Brentford season ticket holder, who's going to give us a bit of an insider's preview of the game. So we'll have that playing now. I think at some point I'll try and do the admin afterwards.
Hello, Grovers. I'm Tom, a Brentford fan. Tabs has asked me to say a few words about Wednesday's game. Firstly, I should wish you all a very happy 2025, at least from the 2nd of January. I hope the 1st of January at the GTEC will be a thoroughly miserable experience for all Arsenal fans and a great start to 2025 for all Bees. I contributed a few words to your podcast for the game at the Emirates back in March. Arsenal won that one quite late on, and obviously will be firm favourites on Wednesday too. Generally, this season at the GTEC has been fantastic entertainment. There's been loads of goals scored by the Bees, quite a few conceded too, but ultimately loads of wins. The home winning streak was ended by Forest last time, quite a well-organised team, but we've since got a good point at Brighton on Friday night. The record's quite lopsided. Great at home, loads of points, very poor away, just 2 draws, all the rest defeats. I suppose it's generally explained by the quirky fixture list. We've had all the what you'd call weaker sides at home, and we've done the business and beaten just about all of them. And most of the stronger sides away, and we've lost just about all of them. Just 2 draws at Everton and Brighton. That'll obviously change. We got Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City at home in January. The top B this season has definitely been Mikael Damsgaard. Brentford have been patient with him. He was signed 2 and a bit years ago, summer 2022, but he's really becoming one of the first names on the team sheet this season. Very industrious, quite clever at winning the ball back, very clever passes. So look out for him. Big credit too to Nathan Collins, who's really become the main man at the back. In fact, right now he's just about the only man at the back. The rest of them seem to be injured. Credit also to Mbuemo and Wissa, who've worked very hard up front. They've been rewarded with their goals. But one worry right at the moment is that injuries seem to be hitting quite hard. The goalkeeper, who's had a good season, was subbed off at Brighton the other night. So not sure when he'll be back. Captain Norgard, strong midfielder, was subbed off late on at Brighton. Looked as though he'd had a bit of a knock. So it ended up there's a young Korean came off the bench, had his debut at Brighton. Also, obviously, a sub-keeper came on for his league debut. In fact, the goalkeeping situation, I suppose, might be quite interesting on Wednesday with Raya coming back to Brentford. Personally, I'm pleased to see him do very well for Arsenal. I hope he gets a good reception, but then, of course, I hope he has a complete nightmare. Ramsdale often had a bit of a nightmare against Brentford. And as I say, we'll see who's in goal for the Bees. Arsenal, obviously, a strong side. Saka, great player. We're lucky that he won't be available. Odegaard, Rice, Gabriel, obviously very strong players. Have to look out for the set pieces. Arteta's not popular at Brentford at all, really. So I hope he gets his comeuppance as well. But overall, everyone at Brentford, I'd say, is pleased with the great progress, remarkable progress over the last decade or so. Hoping for another memorable win. I suppose I'll let my heart overrule my head and say a home win on New Year's Day. And if that's the case, I will especially look forward to seeing Tabs in the pub afterwards. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom. We are, we're going to discuss that. So, Wale, what are you looking forward to, not looking forward to about the Ipswich game? Not the Ipswich game, sorry, but the Brentford game.
It's one of those things I won't know until I see it. I mean, I'm anticipating it not being easy. And again, it's one of my little, I'll call it an inside joke with myself and anybody who will listen. How it's all when it suits people. It's sometimes there's no easy games in the Prem, and then other times it's, you should be beating them. Explain to me which one it is. I don't know.
Whatever suits the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the answer.
I mean, we don't have far to travel. Do I feel we should be winning this game? Yeah. Would I bet money on it? No, because unfortunately, it's not just a win or a loss thing. You've got that third outcome. So I wouldn't bet any money on this game. Based on our past performances, I am concerned. There's a lot of pressure on the coach and on the players. So I'll tell you now, if you thought it was bad prior to this, if we drop points in this game and, the other teams keep on rolling and pick up the points, for all intents and purposes, you could say the season is sort of done. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen, but like at the moment right now, if you were to look at the percentages of going on to win, at that time, ours would be so low that you wouldn't bet anything of value on it. But again, everything's fluid. Things could happen, injuries to other players and teams, and they go on 5-game losing streaks. But we only know what we know. So I'm worried about it. I'm not betting on it. If we came out with a 1-1 or a 2-2, I wouldn't be surprised by that whatsoever.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm actually going undercover. I'm a member at Brentford. I used to. I've got a bit like you've got an affinity with Ipswich. I've got an affinity with Brentford. They were my local, nearest club when growing up. I used to be a steward back at Griffin Park. I've got friends who go there, season ticket holders. So and I'm a member. So if Arsenal aren't playing, I'll go and watch Brentford play. So I'll be Yes, I will be going undercover at Brentford, so I try and get a ticket as close to the Arsenal fans as possible. Brentford are a relatively friendly crowd. Whenever I go, you often see other fans there. So I'm looking forward to going there, meeting up with Tom, having a couple of drinks. Not looking forward to it like you. It's going to be a difficult game. So their record at home, they've played 9, won 7, drawn 1, lost 1. Scored 26 against 16. I think they've got like the second best home record, I think, behind Arsenal and Liverpool in the Premiership. Contrasting to their away form, haven't won away, drawn 2, lost 7. So it's the GTEC Stadium. They lost their last game. They lost, was it 2-0, 3-0 to, was it 2-0 to Forest? So maybe that home, the home fortress thing, maybe there's a crack in there. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game, tougher than I was expecting. They got the likes of Mbeumo, likes of Wissa up front. They can provide problems. They play on the break, so they'll be the game will be very similar. They'll try and defend and play on the break. What do you think in terms of lineup? Do you think anything will change from Ipswich? Do you think we'll have our January fixture list in mind, considering we'll have Brighton on Saturday, and then we've got the Carabao Cup semi-final, then we've got the FA Cup, then we've got Tottenham at home, Villa at home, Champions League, Wolves away, Champions League, all throughout January. Yeah, so how do you think we approach it?
I think you might tweak the midfield a little bit. But when I say tweak the midfield, I think Odegaard will be there. So the starting midfield might end up being the midfield that finished the game for Ipswich. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that might be the case. I think the attacking guys it's my head tells me I never want to see Havertz playing the 8. Like, it doesn't. I think we've got enough data, enough games to show that I don't think it's a reflection on him being a bad player, but he's just not. Maybe it's just on our team. He just doesn't perform well there for us. So yeah, in an ideal world, I mean, I'd probably put Havertz up top. I'd put Marino at the 8. I'd keep Martinelli out left, and I'd put Jesus on the right.
Okay, yeah,
that's who I would have sort of the front going.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I'm the same. Jesus is a confidence player, and I think you just got to keep him there, keep him playing, and then he can interchange with Martinelli if need be, or even Havertz can go out wide, or whatever. I think it'll be very fluid. Yeah, I was thinking the same. I think we keep Jesus in the team. I'd like to see Havertz up top. Yeah, Brentford are a big team, big unit of a team. So, and I'd like to see Marino there. I think away from home would be less attacking minded and maybe have a more of a solid midfield. The one other decision is: do you continue with MLS or does Calafiori come back in?
Is he ready now? Do we know? Is he fully?
Yeah, he came on for the latter half of the latter part of the Palace away game. I'm surprised he didn't come on against Ipswich. I could again give him more minutes.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Size-wise, he's definitely significantly larger, than MLS.
Yeah. So it's just how he's holding up. So, yeah, and we're going to be like this with every game in January because, as I said, we're missing 2 players up front, and we've got to be rotating. So it's just going to be a challenge, against Brentford. I mean, they're sitting 11th in the league, so they're sort of mid-table-ish, but great home record. They got some great players. I do like Mbeumo.
He's nice.
And Wissa, and
he's nice.
He's one of these guys that I keep thinking he's 35, but he's only 25. So
he looks 35. I think it's the hairline, and he's got a mature face.
He's got his head on upside down, as they say. So, but I think they may have some defensive issues, like Flecken came off in the game against Brighton, so maybe they'll be out without their first choice keeper, and then also defensively, Aaron Hickey's out, Ben Mears out, Ethan Pinnock is out, Rico Henry is out, so they may be struggling at the back, but I think in midfield and up front they can offer a threat. So I think it's going to be tricky. I don't think the crowd will be a factor. It never is. At Brentford, it's always a very friendly atmosphere. So. Even Matthias Jensen may be out. So I think they've got some injuries. You just never know. I still think we should win if we're serious. If we're a serious club, no matter how hard, these are the games you go and win. yeah, it's just, I think, a case of watching out on the counter. I think there'll be goals, but yeah, let's see. So what's your prediction?
They're going to score goals against us, so it's now it's getting back to can we score more than them, because like between Embuemo and Wisa, like I like those guys to score goals. I mean, like I say, it wouldn't a 2-2, 3-2 scoreline wouldn't surprise me. It's tough though. Honestly, it's tough to predict with this team now. Honestly, like gun to my head, if I had to choose something, I'd call it 2-2 draw. Unfortunately, like that's. Yeah, if I had to make the call, like that's the call I'd make. I put it at 2-2, and we just keep on essentially treading water or just sinking a little bit further.
Yeah, no, I mean that's not unreasonable. Taken in isolation, looking at that, yeah, it is how many goals can we score, and that's, I know it sounds a daft thing in football, but it's defensively I'm not too concerned, but yeah, we need 2-3 goals to win every game, I think, at the moment, and just to feel comfortable. I will go with a 3-1, a 3-2.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I see that, but you're right. It could easily be a 1-0, 2-0. Yeah, you're right. I think with this team, we win 1 week, we're winning 5-1 against Palace, 5-5 against Sporting, 3 against Man United, and then 0-0 at home to Everton. So, who knows? I just don't think defensively they'll be as strong and as disciplined. It's just watching on the break. So we'll see. So look, there we go. It is what it is. I think everyone's trying to do their best, fans and team alike, and we'll just have to take it as it comes and respond and react accordingly, depending on who you are and how you are. So look, just leaves me to say thank you, Will, for your time today, for your thoughts and interesting insights to counterbalance, the way I am and as well. So in a way, I'm glad Moz wasn't on the show today, because I felt like I would have been ganged up on. So, but no, thank you. I appreciate it as always.
Yeah, man, always a pleasure, never a chore. Yeah, man, we'll see what happens. I am just curious as yourself in the chat as to when it will come a time where people are like, oh, okay, either it's over, either it's going to be really tough, or it's going to be time for change. I'm curious as to where in that timeline we are now, and how far along it has to go. It seems like beating a dead horse, but I'm a big like all this. If you're going to call something if you're going to break your thing down into phases, then I need to know when the phases end. It's something I need to know. And I know people are happy enough just to go to the games and just be happy to be relevant again. I know that this isn't the case with you, but I feel that that's the case with a lot of, we'll call them new fans, fans in, guys and gals who are in their 20s, that they've essentially seen us be shit all this time, and so now we're not. They're just happy enough with it.
No, it was interesting you say that, because again, I'm a bit more pragmatic, and look, everyone gets. We've had this discussion before. Everyone gets something that they want out of football, and everyone's different, and that's fine. And that's the beauty of the game, and whatever floats your boat. It was interesting, because I was having the discussion with my son, and he goes, "Well, you've seen them win this, and you've seen them win that, so it's different for you." And so look for me. I've still got 2-3 years on the project, and but I'm not a banging on the desk and must this like that, but I'm maybe a bit more patient. So for me, I've still got 2-3 years. For me, I can, if this season doesn't go how we want it to go, I can understand why, and I'm happy to justify that and be content with that. It doesn't mean I'm happy, but I can understand. But you're right. Other people will be like, nah. Again, it's another season of failure. We need to change something. We need to do something different. Whatever that is, whoever that is, don't know. We're not paid to do it. So, and I think again,
there's always next year. That's the joke.
Well, there is always next year, and that's the beauty. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of football. That's the beauty of football. Everyone is so hopeful in July and August, and oh my god, this is our year. This is our year.
Anything can happen, man.
And then the shit happens. No one expects. No, we are still a bloody good team, but no one expected all the shit to happen to us. That hasn't happened to any other team, and luck plays a big part of it. and variance plays a part in it. And maybe the last couple of years we got lucky, and this is now our turn not to be lucky. Who knows? But yeah, you're right. There's always next year. But next year, as in 2025, it's only a few days away.
Next season.
Well, then there's next season. Oh, no, but I'm doing calendar year. So next
I know.
year.
When I say next year, it's assumed that we're talking about next season. I don't even, calendar year don't even come into my mind.
I know. what I was also going to say, what's interesting is that your aversion to draws is I love it, because it's just such not a thing in the US with like, with the NFL and
it only just started happening in the NFL. Basketball. Like when I was growing up, you'd get one every 10, 15 years. It just wouldn't happen. I hate the draw. It's ridiculous. It's waste. Such a waste.
What's your answer? So what should we do in the?
I'd rather go to penalties afterwards. I'd rather go to extra time and then penalties. You guys get paid. It's professional sports, man. I'm not into this Gen Z, millennial. Everybody gets. For me, it's the equivalent of giving a participation trophy to grown men making a lot of money. Oh, you both came and did well. Everybody goes home happy. Get out of here.
and on that note, because I think we've gone on far too long. Talked far too long. If you've made it this far, well done. I just about did, and I'm sure the same for you too, Whale. So again, thank you for your time today and everything. Look, you can follow us on Threads and Blue Sky at the Grove AFC. Next up will be post Brentford, pre Brighton on whatever day of the week I can find. And so thank you, Whale.
Thank you.
And until next time, and in fact until next year, come on you Gunners.
Hey.